everybody, this is Arkady Frekhtman. I'm a New York City personal injury trial attorney, and welcome to Last Week Tonight, where we answer your questions and we talk about your comments. It's all about you in this episode. So let's get into it. We haven't done one in a while because I was away at the end of June, and then when I came back, I had a trial. So I was on trial for about 3 weeks. So the trial went well, it ended up settling. I'll do another video about that. But let's get into your comments and your questions. So here's the first question. What are the jury instructions for a pre-existing condition? Okay, so basically the jury instructions for pre-existing condition are that you can recover to the extent that a condition you already have, right, that was pre-existing before this incident, whether this incident is a car crash, whether this incident is a slip and fall, right, it doesn't matter. If you had a condition before the incident that you're suing about, you can't recover for that condition, right, because you already had it, so it wouldn't make sense. But it's to the extent that this condition, that this incident made it worse. Did this incident aggravate it? Did this incident exacerbate it? And to what extent did this incident make your medical condition worse? So it's that added on injury. So for example, if you already had an injury, you were already a little bit more susceptible, more fragile, more vulnerable, and then you get into a car crash. So you might have had a bulging disc in your neck, let's say, a bulging disc. You were living with it, you were fine. There was an MRI like 2-3 years ago confirming that this bulging disc exists. But like I said, you were living with it, you were fine, you weren't doing any physical therapy, you weren't gonna have surgery, you weren't doing any injections, you were just living with it, and it's just a part of who you are, right? Most people have something that may be a little bit wrong with them, right? But it's very few people that are perfect specimens of health, you know, that are like super strong and like, you know, Olympic athletes, right? Everybody has something that they just have from living their life or from a prior incident, right? A prior accident, a prior incident. So now you get into this car crash. Now that bulging disc gets worse. Now that bulging disc starts leaking more, okay? And it's touching the nerve roots and it's causing you pain, and you're getting chiropractic help. You're getting physical therapy. That's not helping. You need to have surgery, let's say. You need to have an injection, maybe an epidural steroid injection. That helps to some extent, but it doesn't make the problem go away completely. Then you may need to have a percutaneous discectomy, another kind of surgery where they're removing the injury from the disc. That doesn't help. You may need to have a full-blown laminectomy, discectomy, or even spinal fusion, right? So all these things, almost like showing two different roads, right? The road you were on before the crash with the injury, and now the road you're on after the injury. And that's how you do it. So yeah, it's just to the extent that it made the injury worse. Okay, and here's another question. How about an accident caused by dogs? Yeah, I mean, that would be a dog bite lawsuit. Those exist, absolutely. We've handled some of those. What you have to show here in New York is that there was a vicious propensity, that the owner knew, like for example, that the dog bit someone before, or the dog gnarled its teeth, or snapped at someone, or jumped up on someone, or some kind of vicious propensity, right? If it was like the dog was completely harmless, never hurt anyone, never hurt a fly, never bit anyone, never jumped up on anybody, then you're gonna have an issue because there's no notice, right? You have to show that there's some kind of notice to the owner that the dog may be dangerous. So if there was no notice and then all of a sudden the dog just goes and bites someone, it might be a very, very difficult case. But as long as there's any kind of notice, we had a case once where a lady was walking and a dog was off the leash. I think it was like a Rottweiler, and the Rottweiler just jumped up and bit her in the arm. And we tried to get a little bit of, of research. Like we looked at the animal control records, whatever was available from the city. There wasn't really much. There wasn't anything. But then we kind of canvassed the area where it happened. We talked to some neighbors, and we found out that another neighbor said the same thing. Like whenever he would park his car there, and sometimes he would sit there with the windows open, the dog would run around without a leash and would jump up sometimes into the open car window. Wouldn't go inside the car, but like put its paws up there and show its teeth. And that was enough to put notice on the owner of this potential threat. And we were able to actually settle that case for, I believe, over $200,000 because she had a pretty bad bite mark in her arm. So yeah, that's an example of a dog bite. Okay. Here's another comment. I started following you 2 years ago while in the hospital at the beginning of my case. I now understand your content so much better. The respect for you taking the time to make these videos while some attorneys don't call their clients back for weeks is immense. Insurance companies just expect you to take their first offer they throw at you since they know it'll be life-changing either way. Lawyers like you fight all the way, and that's what's super important when finding representation at the start. Yeah, I mean, that's very true. What you really need to do is find somebody who's willing to go to trial, find somebody who's willing to fight the fight, right? Because you don't want just settle the case, because that's basically the insurance company is always going to give you the lowest amount. And the reason for that is because they want to save their money, right? They don't want to just give it all away if they don't have to. So they're going to give you the lowest possible amount. And the way to get the highest possible amount is to build the case, to show them, look, I have liability. I'm not liable. It's your insured's fault. And I know what values are worth. I've seen other cases and I know that, you know, this is not worth what you're offering me. I can get much more. I can do it through a jury trial. So I'm going to prepare the case. I have experts, I have doctors. Once they see all that, they get scared and then they start offering you more. And so that's very, very important. Okay, let's see what other questions we have. Here's a comment about a ceiling collapse video, and the person says, that ceiling had a pre-existing injury like a bulging disc, and the alleged negligence of the landlord made it much, much worse. Yeah, I mean, it's kind of the same, right? If the ceiling had a crack, let's say, it's kind of like a pre-existing injury, right? They have to take care of it. They have to solve the crack. If they would have solved the crack and maybe not just patch it over, right? Not just paint over it, but actually fix the issue, then it won't collapse. So it's kind of similar. If you have, like, say, an injury, you have a pre-existing injury, you think it might be small, it might go away on its own, or you're not taking care of it, and then you get into like a car crash. Now that pushes you over the edge. And now that injury is something you can't come back from. And it really pushes you down, it pushes your health down. So it is similar. Let's see what other questions we have. I'm trying to figure out how much is the lowest amount on a passenger that was in the commercial accident and she was injured. And that's in response to our video, what is the settlement value of a truck accident? Well, I mean, there's no such thing as a lowest amount. Really, each case is going to be unique. You know, it's kind of like similar to medical conditions, right? Each person has their own unique medical condition. One person might have strong ankles, right, but weak calves, or I don't know, strong hands, but some other bad vision. You know, everyone's different. Everyone's unique. You can't say, like, what's my, you know, how long am I going to live, or what's my health going to be like in the next 5 years? You don't know. The only person who could tell you is your doctor, who's examining you, who's taking your blood work, who's really examining every aspect of you, right? You have one doctor for your eyes, another one for your teeth, another one for your orthopedics. So it's like that. Same thing with a case. You have to look at everything, right? You have to look at liability. You have to look at your injury. You have to know how much insurance they have. So every case is unique and every case commands its own amount. So it's very hard to say like the lowest amount. But in general, I mean, if it's a commercial vehicle, that's a good sign, because usually commercial policies are higher, could even be $1 million or more. And, you know, so that's good. That's definitely a good thing. So it just depends. It just depends on all the factors. Let's see. What else do we have here? Oh, here's the video I did, warning. Here's what every personal injury victim needs to know. And that was a defense trick where somebody lost a trial and then the defense were bragging about it. And I believe that case, there's going to be a new trial because, yeah, they were bragging about lying. They knew that the injured plaintiff was a victim and probably died because of their negligence. But they tried to, like, you know, stir doubt and stir confusion, and the jurors bought it, and they actually returned a defense verdict. So then they were celebrating. And so this person writes, Royce Calvard, he writes, "What a jerk. I hope his deceased grandmother crawls out from underneath his bed and bites him for that." I mean, yeah, it is really terrible. Really, really terrible. Yeah, absolutely. But that's good that they're going to get a new trial. And hopefully they should prevail. Okay. Yeah, so let me see. Maybe I'll do another video where I go through a few more of your questions. Maybe I'll do one more question for now. And then we'll do another one. I don't want to make them too long. Maybe about 10 minutes is a good time frame, I'm thinking. We could do a few more videos and talk about all your questions. And I'll do a few lives too. I'll try to maybe fit one in later this week. And here's a question, here's a comment, here's a video. Do you have to lose consciousness to have a TBI, meaning a traumatic brain injury? And the answer is no. And then someone writes, yes, it happened to me. I just started feeling the symptoms. I got tired. I was losing memory, forgetting the thoughts and conversations. And it did appear in the image. I guess he means the diagnostic imaging, that it did appear that there was a traumatic brain injury. Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry to hear that. I'm wishing you all the best. Absolutely, that does happen. So you don't have to lose consciousness to have a traumatic brain injury. Okay, I hope this was helpful. Let us know what other questions you have. Feel free to just comment and we can choose your question and answer it in one of our future videos. We're also going to do more videos about different topics. And like I said, I'll do ones that cover that trial that we just finished. Okay, have a great day, everyone. Talk to you soon.